then we must have a strong NHS. Yes. Not as the Reform Party have called for, an insurance-based system. We believe in a publicly funded national health service free at the point of use. Now, perhaps the member for Clacton should spend some more time focusing on the priorities of the British people and less time in the Westminster Arms. Although, Mr. Speaker, after this week, perhaps the Two Chairman pub might be a better fit. Mr. Speaker, after damage is done, he still nods along. They have learnt nothing. And his party have been in Parliament for less than a year. And yet they have already racked up £80 billion of unfunded commitments. They are simply not serious.
The Chancellor's an open book, Madam Deputy Speaker. She plays roulette with the economy, but I wouldn't encourage her to play poker anytime soon, because she mentioned reform and the Honourable Member for Clacton more times in her speech than she mentioned Scotland. What a disgrace. So what funding, she mentioned she's finally got round to ACORN, what funding is she going to allocate for ACORN? Because she mentioned it without a figure attached. Now,
well, I did mention the SNP. I questioned why the SNP don't support defence investments in Scotland. But I could mention the SNP again if you'd like to. Why have the SNP let down the people of Scotland with rising hospital waiting lists?
In a fiery and theatrical exchange on the House floor, Dave Dogan absolutely erupted at Rachel Reeves, accusing her of being obsessed with Nigel Farage and the Reform Party, while ignoring the actual needs of the British people, especially Scotland. As Reeves began her remarks by firmly defending the Natchies against Reform's call for an insurance-based model, she quickly pivoted into mocking the member for Clacton and taking potshots at Reform Party leadership. Her jab about the Westminster Arms and Two Chairman pub drew chuckles from some, but not from Dogan. He was having none of it. Dogan fired back with sharp precision, accusing Reeves of name, dropping Farage and Reform more times than she mentioned Scotland, an omission he called a disgrace. He tore into her for grandstanding while offering no real funding figures for critical Scottish projects like ACORN. To him it was clear Reeves was far more interested in using Farage as a political punching bag than actually delivering for the people. While Reeves attempted to recover by claiming she had in fact addressed the SNP and questioned their commitment to defence investment in Scotland, Dugan's point had already landed. The optics were glaring. This was less a budget review and more a Farage roast. And for the Sneap, it reinforced a long-standing grievance. Scotland is always treated as an afterthought in Westminster debates. Dugan's eruption served as a sharp reminder that while Labour battles reform for airtime, many in Scotland are still waiting for substance, not sound bites.
Good afternoon to you, Ian. Goodness me, what a splurge of spending by a Chancellor that I think is terrified of the progress of reform, but spending hundreds of billions. And where's it all coming from? Yep. You and me and all of your listeners in borrowed money, and I fear that much of it will be wasted. Some of it is welcome, but much of it is wasted.
Do you know, I had a rare moment of actually feeling sorry for you today, because I thought, you know, you and your party have done amazing work on, you know, how we will solve issues around asylum hotels and border issues. And then Rachel Reeves has come along like a magician and solved it all. So, I mean, you can stop talking about it now, because she's got all the money for the border force. She's sorting out the asylum hotels. Job done, Richard.
Well, if you think that, then I've got some sand to tell you, because the chances of her having cleared out the asylum hotels and all the houses of multiple occupation that should be occupied by British citizens rather than illegal migrants, I think is 1 in a million, frankly. But look, I wish them well. Obviously, the whole British people would like them to get a grip of the illegal migrant crisis. She talked, I mean, I did have to laugh in the chamber when she said they were getting a grip of borders. They talked about extra hundreds of millions spending on border security command. That basically means hundreds of millions more cash to the French to give their gendarmes photography lessons as they wave the migrants off from the beach. I mean, it's just ludicrous.
In a heated post-debate exchange that encapsulates the growing economic and immigration rift between Reform UK and Labour, Richard Tice, deputy leader of Reform UK, launched a scathing attack on Labour's economic strategy and border policy, calling Rachel Reeves' financial plans a ludicrous splurge of spending. Tice, known for his no-holds barred rhetoric, did not mince words when reacting to the Shadow Chancellor's Commons appearance. "I did have to laugh in the chamber when she said they were getting a grip of borders," he remarked, barely concealing his disbelief. This is the same Labour Party that has consistently failed to offer credible answers to the migration crisis and now wants us to believe they've suddenly discovered enforcement. Tice's comments come amid Labour's renewed pitch to present itself as fiscally responsible and tough on illegal immigration, a strategy aimed at neutralizing traditional Conservative strengths ahead of the general election. But for Tice and many on the right, that messaging is falling flat. Rachel Reeves is proposing one of the most reckless economic plans we've seen in years, Tice continued. "This isn't investment. It's a ludicrous splurge. Billions thrown into the furnace of failed schemes without a single coherent plan to address inflation, debt, or the tax burden crushing working families." Labour's economic platform, outlined by Reeves in a series of recent speeches and budget responses, includes significant green investment, infrastructure upgrades, and public sector reforms, initiatives she argues will spur long-term growth and restore public trust in state institutions. But critics like Tice see it as ideological overreach dressed up as pragmatism. On immigration, the clash was even sharper. Labour's attempt to assert control of the border debate, long dominated by the Conservatives and now increasingly challenged by Reform UK, has drawn derision from those who see it as too little, too late. Labour helped create this mess, Tice said. They enabled open-door policies, refused to stand up to Brussels, and demonized anyone who even mentioned border control. Now, after years of silence, they want voters to believe they're the party of order. It's laughable. The confrontation reflects a broader political realignment underway in the UK, with Reform UK increasingly positioning itself as the anti-establishment voice of working-class frustration, targeting both the Conservatives for their perceived failures and Labour for what it calls woke economic and migration fantasies. For Labour, Tice's attacks present a double-edged challenge, fending off attacks from the right while maintaining internal cohesion on progressive values. Reeves, for her part, has insisted that Labour can be both compassionate and fiscally responsible, a message aimed at voters disillusioned by years of austerity and Brexit fatigue. But Tice is betting that message won't land. "People aren't stupid," he said. "They see the boats, they see their taxes, and they see a Labour Party that's all talk, no solutions." With Reform UK continuing to rise in the polls, particularly in red wall constituencies, this latest war of words is unlikely to be the last as the general election looms. One thing is clear: Tice's reform isn't just targeting Conservatives. Labour, too, is firmly in their crosshairs.